The clinking of silverware against porcelain filled the dining room as I passed the roasted vegetables to my mother-in-law. It was supposed to be a celebration, my wife's promotion to senior marketing director. Her parents had driven 3 hours to join us, and I'd spent the afternoon preparing her favorite meal, herb-crusted salmon with garlic mashed potatoes. "So, darling," my father-in-law raised his wine glass, "tell us how it feels to finally break through that glass ceiling." My wife beamed, her eyes sparkling in the candlelight. "It's surreal, honestly. After all these years of fighting for recognition, someone finally saw my potential." She paused, taking a sip of wine. "I just wish I'd made different choices earlier in life. Better choices." "What do you mean?" her mother asked, leaning forward with interest. My wife's expression shifted, becoming contemplative yet somehow dismissive. "Well, you know, if I'd focused more on my career from the start instead of—" She gestured vaguely in my direction, settling. "I could have been a VP by now." The room grew quiet. I felt my mother-in-law's sympathetic glance, but I kept my eyes on my plate, methodically cutting my salmon into smaller pieces. "Sweetheart, that's a bit harsh," her father interjected carefully. "No, Dad, I'm just being honest." My wife refilled her glass, the wine sloshing slightly. "We all make mistakes when we're young. We think love is enough. We think companionship matters more than ambition." She laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "I married someone comfortable, someone safe. And look where it got me, 10 years behind where I should be." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. 10 years of marriage, reduced to a miscalculation. A strategic error in her life's business plan. "I mean, look at David from my office," she continued, oblivious to, or perhaps energized by, the tension she'd created. "He's married to another executive. They push each other, challenge each other. They're building an empire together. And me, I come home to—" She waved her hand dismissively. This, our home, our life, me." My mother-in-law cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should talk about something else." "Mom, it's fine. He knows what I mean. Don't you, honey?" My wife looked at me directly for the first time since her monologue began. "You know you're my biggest regret. We've talked about this." Had we? I searched my memory for any conversation where she'd been this brutally explicit. Yes, there had been arguments about my salary, frustrations about my lack of ambition, pointed comments about friends' husbands who drove better cars or took more exotic vacations. But biggest regret? That was new. "I think what your daughter is trying to say," my father-in-law attempted to intercede. "I know exactly what she's saying," I said quietly, setting down my fork. All eyes turned to me. I smiled, not the wounded smile of someone absorbing a blow, but something else entirely. Something that surprised even me. "And she's absolutely right." My wife blinked, caught off guard by my agreement. "I am comfortable. I am safe. I've been coasting." I folded my napkin and placed it beside my plate with deliberate care. "But you know what? That changes now." "What do you mean?" my wife asked, her triumph flickering to uncertainty. I stood, beginning to clear the plates. "I mean you've given me a gift tonight. Clarity. You've shown me exactly where I stand." I collected her plate, still half full. "Excuse me while I handle the dishes. Please, continue celebrating." As I walked to the kitchen, I heard her mother whisper urgently, "That was cruel, even for you." I ran the water hot, watching steam rise from the sink. My reflection in the window above showed a man I barely recognized, someone who'd been slowly disappearing, accommodating, shrinking to fit someone else's narrative of mediocrity. My hands, submerged in soapy water, trembled slightly. Not with hurt, though that was there too. With something sharper. Determination. Behind me, the conversation resumed in hushed, awkward tones. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was calculating. Planning. Promising myself that she was right about one thing, I would be her biggest regret. Just not in the way she imagined. 3 days after the dinner, I sat in my car outside our house at 5:47 a.m., engine running, watching the bedroom lights still dark. My wife wouldn't wake for another hour. This head start was mine. The gym parking lot was nearly empty when I arrived. I'd chosen this place deliberately, not the trendy boutique fitness center where my wife sometimes attended yoga, but a serious lifter's gym across town. The kind of place with more iron than mirrors, where people came to work, not to be seen. First time. The owner, a former competitive powerlifter named Rita, looked me over with a professional's eye. You want to build muscle or just get healthy? I want to build everything, I said. And I need a trainer who won't go easy on me. She smiled. I know just the person. By 7:15, I was back home, showered, and preparing breakfast when my wife emerged, scrolling through her phone. She barely glanced up as I set a smoothie in front of her, hers, made to her exact specifications. Mine sat beside me, a different color, packed with protein powder and ingredients I'd researched the night before. You're up early, she remarked without interest. Couldn't sleep, I lied. Big day ahead. She hummed non-committally and continued scrolling. At work, I requested a meeting with my supervisor, Daniel. We'd always had a cordial relationship, but I'd never pushed for advancement, content with my steady, if unspectacular, position as a senior analyst. I want to talk about the data science certification program, I said, closing his office door. And the machine learning project that's been stalled in development. Daniel leaned back, surprised. That project needs someone who can dedicate serious overtime. It's high risk, high visibility. If it fails, then I'll fail visibly, I interrupted. I'm ready for that risk. He studied me for a long moment. What changed? I did, I said simply. When can I start? The weeks blurred together in a haze of calculated effort. I woke at 5 a.m. for training sessions that left my muscles screaming. I worked my regular 9 to 5, then stayed late 3 nights a week for the certification courses. The other 2 nights, I attended networking events in the tech industry, forcing myself to make connections, to be seen, to become someone people remembered. At home, I was a ghost. Pleasant, functional, but absent in all the ways that mattered. When my wife talked about her day, I listened with polite interest but shared nothing of my own transformation. When she complained about her colleagues, I nodded sympathetically. When she mentioned weekend plans with her friends, I encouraged her to go, claiming I had work to catch up on. You're being weird, she said one evening, 6 weeks after the dinner. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been studying database architecture. Weird how? I don't know. Quiet. Distant. She frowned. Are you upset about what I said at dinner? Because I was just being honest. You're not actually sulking, are you? Not at all, I said, offering that same calm smile. You were right. I needed to hear it. She relaxed, satisfied. Good. I mean, I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but someone had to say it. I returned to my screen, and she returned to her phone. The conversation died like so many others, not with conflict, but with apathy. By month 3, the physical changes were becoming noticeable. My clothes fit differently. My face looked sharper, more defined. The trainer Rita had assigned me, a former Marine named Jules, had worked me mercilessly, and my body was responding. You've lost 22 pounds, Jules noted, checking her tablet. But you've gained muscle, so you've really lost about 35 pounds of fat. How are you feeling? Stronger, I said. But I'm not done. Good. Because neither am I. The machine learning project was consuming my evenings at work, but it was also showcasing skills I'd let atrophy. My supervisor began including me in higher-level meetings. The VP of Technology stopped by my desk to discuss my progress. My name was circulating in emails I wasn't even copied on. At home, my wife noticed none of it. Or perhaps she chose not to notice. She was too absorbed in her own world, her own triumphs and frustrations, to see that the man making her dinner had transformed into someone else entirely. Are you even listening? She snapped one evening. I realized I'd been staring through her while she talked about a conflict with her assistant. I'm sorry, I said. What were you saying? Never mind, she huffed. You're useless when you're tired anyway. I nodded and returned to my meal. Useless. The word bounced off me like water off stone. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning at 9:47 a.m. The machine learning project has exceeded all benchmarks. Executive presentation scheduled for Friday. Be ready to shine. I read it 3 times, then calmly closed my laptop and returned to my current task. No celebration, no announcement. Just quiet satisfaction that the chess pieces were moving exactly where I'd positioned them. That evening, my wife came home radiating frustration. David got the VP position, she announced, dropping her bag on the counter with more force than necessary. The one I was being considered for. They said they wanted someone with broader technical expertise. She made air quotes, her voice dripping with contempt. As if schmoozing with IT makes you qualified for leadership. I'm sorry, I said, plating the dinner I'd prepared, grilled chicken with quinoa for both of us. My nutritional discipline had become second nature. Are you though? She grabbed a fork, stabbing at her food. You don't seem particularly bothered. Would you like me to be bothered? I'd like you to care about my career. I do care. That's why I'm not pretending this is anything other than a setback you'll overcome. I took a deliberate bite. You're talented. You'll get the next one. She stared at me, seemingly unsure whether to be comforted or insulted by my rational response. Finally, she ate in silence. Friday's presentation went flawlessly. The executive team asked pointed questions. I had researched answers. They challenged my projections. I had conservative backup plans and aggressive growth scenarios. When the CTO asked why I hadn't pursued this level of involvement before, I simply said, I wasn't ready before. I am now. Afterward, Daniel pulled me aside. That was impressive. The kind of impressive that opens doors. What kind of doors? The kind that come with significant raises and leadership opportunities. He paused. Also, the kind that makes you visible to recruiters. If you're interested. I was very interested. That weekend, I received 3 LinkedIn messages from recruiters at major tech companies. I responded to all of them. 2 weeks later, I had first-round interviews scheduled with 2 of them, and a third requested my resume for a position that hadn't been posted yet. The physical transformation had reached a point where strangers treated me differently. The barista at my new coffee shop, not the one my wife and I had frequented, but one near the gym, smiled more warmly. The woman at the dry cleaners complimented my appearance. At a networking event, I was approached by 4 different people who wanted to exchange contact information. You've really changed, said Jeremy, a former colleague I'd run into at a tech mixer. I almost didn't recognize you. New job? Not yet, I said. But soon. Well, you look good, man. Like, really good. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. My wife noticed too, but not in the way I expected. Did you buy new clothes? She asked one morning, eyeing me as I adjusted my tie. A few pieces. My old ones didn't fit anymore. She tilted her head, studying me with an expression I couldn't quite read. You look different. Is that bad? I don't know yet, she said, then left for work without elaborating. The job offers started arriving in month 5. The first was a lateral move with a 20% raise. I declined it. The second was a senior position with a 40% raise and stock options. I told them I'd consider it. The third was a leadership role at a company I'd admired for years, 60% raise, full benefits, and a title that would make me my wife's professional equal. I accepted it pending background checks and final negotiations. That evening, I came home to find my wife entertaining her friend Cassandra, a fellow marketing executive who'd always treated me with thinly veiled condescension. Oh, you're home early, my wife said, surprised. Just finished up some meetings, I said vaguely, heading to the kitchen. I could hear them talking in hushed tones, then Cassandra's voice, louder. Wait, is that really him? Your husband? Yes, why? Girl, he looks completely different. What happened? A pause, then my wife's uncertain voice. He's been working out. That's not just working out. That's a complete transformation. Is everything okay with you too? Of course, my wife said quickly. Too quickly. Why wouldn't it be? Because in my experience, when a man suddenly starts improving himself after years of not caring, he's either having an affair or planning an exit. I smiled to myself, unpacking groceries with methodical care. Cassandra was smarter than I'd given her credit for. Don't be ridiculous, my wife said, but her voice had changed. Uncertain now. He's just going through a phase. I walked back into the living room with a glass of water, nodded politely at both of them, and headed upstairs. Behind me, the conversation continued in whispers I couldn't quite hear but didn't need to. The seed of doubt had been planted. By someone else, no less. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. I started noticing my wife watching me, not with her usual distracted glance, but with focused attention that bordered on surveillance. She began asking questions about my day in greater detail, pressing for specifics I'd previously shared freely but now offered sparingly. Where were you until 7? She asked one Wednesday evening. Work event. Networking mixer for the tech division. You hate those things. I used to, I corrected, hanging my coat. Now I see their value. She followed me to the kitchen, arms crossed. Who was there? Colleagues. Department heads. Some people from other companies. I pulled out ingredients for dinner, a habit I'd maintained despite everything. Why? Just curious. But her tone said otherwise. The background check for my new position cleared on a Thursday. The offer letter arrived the following Monday. Official, detailed, transformative. I printed it, signed it, and scheduled my start date for 6 weeks out. Then I filed it carefully in a folder at the bottom of my desk drawer at home, beneath old tax returns and forgotten warranties. That evening, my wife's colleague Michael stopped by unannounced. I'd met him twice before at company functions, a jovial, backslapping type who'd always made a show of excluding me from conversations. Wow, man, you look great, he said, shaking my hand with genuine surprise. Lisa told me you'd been hitting the gym, but this is impressive. My wife's expression tightened. I didn't realize you two kept in touch. We don't, I said easily. This is only the 3rd time we've met. Well, 3rd time's the charm. Hey, we're planning a group outing to that new Brazilian steakhouse downtown. You should both come. Unless. He glanced at my wife with poorly concealed mischief. You think he'd be out of place with our crowd? We'll check our schedules, my wife said stiffly, ushering him toward the door. After he left, she turned on me. What did you say to him? Just now. Hello and goodbye. No, before. At the company events. What did you talk about? Nothing memorable, I said truthfully. Why? Because he's never been friendly to you before, and now suddenly he's inviting you to things and complimenting you and, she stopped, frustration flashing across her face. Something's changed. Yes, I agreed. I have. She didn't like that answer. Over the next 2 weeks, her behavior escalated. She began coming home earlier, watching what I cooked, commenting on my clothes, asking about my phone calls. When I went to the gym, she wanted to know which one. When I stayed late at work, she wanted proof. Are you seeing someone? She finally asked one Saturday morning. I was at the kitchen table with my laptop, reviewing materials for a lecture series I'd been invited to give at a local university, another opportunity that had materialized from my expanded network. What? You heard me. Are you having an affair? I closed the laptop, giving her my full attention. No. Then what's going on? You're different. You look different, you act different, you're always busy with something. I'm becoming the person you said I wasn't, I interrupted calmly. Ambitious. Driven. Someone who doesn't just coast. That's not, I didn't mean, she faltered, searching for solid ground. I was just frustrated that night. I didn't mean you should completely change who you are. Didn't you, though? I stood, refilling my coffee. You said I was your biggest regret. That you'd married someone comfortable and safe when you should have married someone who pushed you, challenged you. Someone building an empire. I turned to face her. So that's what I'm doing. Building. Building what? An empire, I said simply. Just not with you. The words hung between us like smoke. Her face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally something I'd never seen before: fear. What does that mean? It means I heard you. At that dinner, and in 100 small moments before and after. You don't want a partner. You want either a subordinate or an equal competitor. I can't be the first anymore, and I have no interest in the second. So what? You're just going to leave? I'm going to become someone who could leave, I said. There's a difference. She laughed, but it sounded forced. That's ridiculous. You can't just. We're married. We have a life together. Do we? I gestured around the kitchen. When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? When's the last time we were partners instead of you being the star and me being the stagehand? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No answer came. I'm not angry, I continued, my voice steady. But I'm not staying in a marriage where I'm someone's biggest regret. You wanted me to change. I have. The question now is whether you're comfortable with what I'm becoming. Which is what, exactly? Someone with options, I said. I left her standing in the kitchen and went upstairs. Through the floor, I could hear her pacing, her phone ringing as she called someone, probably Cassandra. The panicked murmur of her voice carried up the stairs, but I didn't try to make out the words. I had calls of my own to make. The realtor I'd been consulting with had sent over listings for studio apartments. Small, modern, perfect for a fresh start. My lawyer had drafted separation documents, waiting in a folder marked when ready. I wasn't ready yet. But soon. The dinner invitation came 3 weeks later. My wife suggested it during one of our increasingly careful conversations, interactions that felt like negotiations between diplomats from hostile nations. Let's go out, she said. That new French place downtown. Just us. I recognized the restaurant name: exclusive, expensive, romantic. The kind of place she'd always wanted to go but complained I could never afford. All right, I agreed. She blinked, surprised by my easy acceptance. Friday. Friday works. The intervening days were strange. She was trying, I could see that. She asked about my work with genuine interest, though I kept my answers surface level. She commented positively on my appearance. She suggested we watch a movie together, something we hadn't done in months. Each gesture felt simultaneously sincere and calculated, like she was following a script for salvaging something she'd only just realized was slipping away. Friday arrived. I dressed carefully in one of my new suits, charcoal grey, perfectly tailored to my transformed physique. When I came downstairs, my wife was waiting in a black dress I'd never seen before. You look beautiful, I said, and meant it. So do you, she replied, then caught herself. I mean, handsome. You look handsome. The restaurant was everything its reputation promised: intimate lighting, exceptional service, the quiet murmur of wealth and discretion. We were seated at a corner table. Wine was poured. Menus were presented and withdrawn. I've been thinking a lot, she began once we were alone. About that dinner. The things I said. Have you? I was awful. Cruel, even. I blamed you for my own frustrations, and that wasn't fair. She reached across the table, her hand stopping just short of mine. I want to apologize. Really apologize. Okay. She waited for more, but I simply took a sip of wine. That's it. Just okay? What else would you like me to say? I don't know. That you forgive me. That we can move past this. Her voice rose slightly before she checked herself, glancing around. I'm trying here. I can see that, I said. And I appreciate the effort. But But apologizing for saying something cruel doesn't change whether it was true. I set down my glass with precision. You called me your biggest regret. Do you still believe that? No. I mean, I was just. Be honest, I interrupted gently. Not with me, even. With yourself. When you look at our marriage, at the last 10 years, do you feel like you made the right choice? She struggled visibly with the question. I watched her cycle through responses, rejecting each one before it reached her lips. Finally, I don't know anymore. Thank you, I said. That's the most honest thing you've said to me in years. What does that mean for us? Our appetizers arrived, a convenient interruption. We ate in loaded silence. The food was exceptional. I barely tasted it. I got a new job, I said eventually. Significant promotion. Different company. I start in 3 weeks. Her eyes widened. You what? When were you going to tell me? I'm telling you now. That's not. We're supposed to make these decisions together. Like you consulted me before announcing I was your biggest mistake in front of your parents. The words came out evenly, without heat, which somehow made them land harder. She flinched. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? You've been making unilateral decisions about the value and direction of our relationship for years. I'm just catching up. So this is revenge? You're going to punish me by... This isn't revenge, I cut her off. Revenge would be public. Revenge would be designed to hurt you the way you hurt me. This is just me choosing to build a life where I'm not someone's regret. I said I was sorry. And I heard you. But sorry doesn't erase 10 years of contempt. It doesn't erase the 1,000 small moments where you made it clear I wasn't good enough, ambitious enough, impressive enough. I leaned back. You wanted a different husband. Someone who excited you, challenged you, matched your drive. You should have that opportunity. Her face drained of color. Are you saying you want a divorce? I'm saying I've rented an apartment. I'm saying I've consulted with a lawyer. I'm saying that in 3 weeks, when I start my new job, I'll be moving out. I paused. What happens after that is up to both of us. You can't just leave. Why not? You already did. You've been gone for years, emotionally, mentally. You live in a future where I don't exist or a past where you chose differently. I'm just making the physical reality match the emotional one. Tears formed in her eyes. Real ones, I thought, not strategic ones. I don't want you to go. You wanted me to change. Not like this. How then? You wanted me ambitious, but not threatening. Improved, but still grateful. Successful enough to not embarrass you, but not so successful that I don't need you. I shook my head. That's not a partner. That's a pet. That's not fair. Neither was that dinner. Neither were the years of comments about my salary, my career, my lack of drive. Neither was being called your biggest regret. My voice remained calm, surgical. But fair doesn't matter anymore. What matters is I finally understand what you've known all along. We want different things from life, and we've become different people trying to accommodate each other's disappointment. She was crying openly now, drawing glances from other diners. I signaled for the check. Please, she said. Give me a chance to fix this. Let me show you I can be different. You don't need to be different. You need to be happy. And I finally realize I can't make you that. I placed my credit card on the small tray, the new one, with the higher limit I'd earned. Maybe this is the best thing for both of us. You get to find someone who matches your ambition naturally, without resenting the expectations. I get to find someone who sees me as a partner, not a project or a disappointment. The drive home was silent except for her occasional shaking breaths. When we pulled into the driveway, she turned to me. Is there anything I can do? Anything at all? I thought about it, really thought about it. Could she undo years of dismissal? Could I forget being called a mistake? Could we rebuild from this foundation of mutual disappointment? I don't think so, I said finally. But I don't hate you. I want you to know that. You gave me a gift that night, even if you didn't mean to. You showed me I'd been sleepwalking through my own life. Everything I've become these past months, I have you to thank for that wake-up call. That's not the gift I wanted to give you. No, I agreed. But it's the one I needed. 3 weeks later, I moved into my apartment, a clean, modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The movers finished at 3 p.m. My wife hadn't come to say goodbye. I understood why. That evening, I stood at those windows with a glass of bourbon, my first drink since beginning this transformation, and looked at my reflection in the glass. The man looking back was someone I recognized but hadn't met before, confident, self-sufficient, at peace. My phone buzzed. A text from my wife, "I hope you find what you're looking for." I typed back, "I already have. I hope you do too." She never responded, and that was all right. Some endings don't need final words. They need space and silence and the chance for both people to become whoever they're meant to be without the weight of someone else's regret. I had been her biggest mistake. Now I was my own greatest success. And that made all the difference.